Anyway, George W. Bush took a lot of flack, of course, from me and others for his handling of the Hurricane Katrina and the aftermath. Now, President Obama finds himself in something of the same problem. After making several trips as a senator and as a presidential candidate, this Thursday, President Obama will make his first ever trip to New Orleans as president. He wants to get a first-hand look, he says, at the rebuilding and recovery efforts more than 4 years after the disaster itself. But Louisiana Republicans and even Democratic Senator Mary Landrieu are criticizing Obama because his visit will last only about 4 hours. It looks like a flyover. They say there's hardly enough time to get a sense of the post-Katrina recovery effort. Anyway, I'm joined right now by Sandy Rosenthal on the phone. She's the founder of levees.org. She's asked for a meeting with the president when he gets down there to New Orleans. And back with me also is White House Washington Post reporter Ann Kornbluth. Thank you, Ann. Stick with us. Let me go to Sandy. Sandy, what do you want, and do you think you'll get it?
Well, if I had just 30 seconds with our president, understand he's not going to be there very long, I would say to him, please stop using Katrina shorthand. Stop saying that Katrina flooded New Orleans. New Orleans and St. Bernard Parish were flooded by civil engineering mistakes by your Army Corps, over which you are commander-in-chief. And then I would remind our president that because of the nation's thirst for cheap energy and for a dependable navigation corridor, I'm talking about the Mississippi River, that caused Louisiana's wetlands to starve and die, and that made New Orleans vulnerable to storm surge. So it was both the loss of the wetlands and both the levee failures were both they were both federal responsibilities. And
so what's your point? What's your point about the wetlands, and how much time has that gone on? How long have we let the wetlands go to hell? How many years?
Well, it turns out that we have known for about 100 years that by leveeing the Mississippi River, that would cause the loss of the wetlands. That's been known for about a century, and that it would take about 2 generations for that to happen, and it sure did. And it was because of feeding the nation's needs, and that makes it a federal responsibility.
So what should we have done? Not levy the Mississippi? What should we have done?
Well, you know something? Books could be written about that. But
well, how about you telling me now? Sandy, you're here lobbying to meet with the president. If he asks you, what should we have done, what would you say?
Well, if he asked me what we should have done, I would say talk to the hydrologists and the engineers. But if he said, Ms. Rosenthal, what should I do today? I would say you could sign an executive order calling for an independent review of the levee failures and the loss of the wetlands today. And why would the nation care about that? Well, for 2 reasons. One, billions are being spent right now, but a measly little $5 million study could make sure that those billions get spent right. But more importantly, we just found out in a FOIA request that over half the American population lives in counties protected by levees. That means over half the American population is in the same boat as New Orleans, protected by levees just like New Orleans. And it's critical to the nation to find out what went wrong and why.
Are you for levees or against levees? It sounds like you said we shouldn't have built the levees because it's destroyed the wetlands, and now you're saying we need the wetlands, the levees to protect people who are behind them.
No, that's not at all what I'm saying. The levee failures were civil engineering mistakes, and the loss of the wetlands was because of feeding the nation's thirst for energy and a navigation corridor.
Well, that's you're using rhetoric here. Do you think we should have levees along the Mississippi to protect the people who live behind the banks, or not?
Okay. Well, I am not an engineer and a hydrologist, but this review that I'm talking about would answer those questions. And we don't need an internal review where the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers comes in and investigates their own work. We need an independent review. The language is written. Senator Vitter and Senator Landrieu wrote it together, so it's bipartisan. It's sitting there waiting to go, and all it needs is an executive order. So I would say, President Obama, when you get back to your Oval Office, please sign this executive order for a true independent review. But even more importantly, when you talk about New Orleans, please don't use Katrina shorthand.
Okay, thank you very much, Sandy.